Good, would you all rise to the pledge? If I can get up.
Somebody start.
I'm up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. Let's go first on this side. I'd like to thank you for coming to the meeting tonight. I should have an interesting presentation here. Conrad, what's going on with computers?
You're making me get back up again?
Yes, exercise.
I tell you, it's not working. Yeah.
I want to make you climb to the top of the tower.
Well, then we won't have a tower. Find a way to shoot. Okay, well, repeater site, everything's pretty much going good. There's plans to go ahead and go up to the site next week on Wednesday. We're going to go ahead and do some enhancements to the 700 full duplex packet repeater. Trying to go ahead and increase the sensitivity there and make things better on it. Otherwise, no real big changes to the mountain overall.
Other than a once aspiring tree.
That's a side chair problem.
Yeah, well,
That's gone. That's
Wait a
nothing
minute.
else.
So we have an aspiring tree that has given up the ghost about 7 feet up. And it was tired by Conrad, so it decided to lay down on the tree next to him. So it's not on the ground, it's not in the air, but it is resting.
Is it on the antenna array?
No, it looks right now that the fall range is the tip would maybe have 2 feet of extension into the outermost guy on one corner. So that we're talking about inch thickness maybe at that point of the tree, the top 2 feet of the tree. But it looks like it would miss it completely if it were to actually fall because of the way it's laying on the tree next to it. But in the air, and I'm not going to keep standing underneath it to gauge which way and what angle it's going to fall. If someone else would like to do that, you're more than welcome to come up and assess it for yourself. But would not argue. Not seen anybody from out of town here tonight, so that's kind of different. Mike. Hi, Mike. How are you, Mike?
Great.
Mike will tell us a little bit about what's going on in college still with the antenna ordinance.
Okay, I think everyone is aware that we are still fighting the battle in Poway for our antennas. We think we've got the council convinced that 65 feet is a good height. It's the other stuff that we are still working on, how many you can have total, so VHF, UHF antennas, verticals, and stuff like that. Our only opponent, really, organized is the Green Valley Civic Association, and yesterday they came out with a quote survey, online survey, and asking some questions about whether the citizens of Poway support allowing us to have antennas. So we have a couple of paper copies of it here, but you can only do it online. If you want to see what it looks like, we have some copies of it. We have the URL. We'd like to have everybody go online, fill out the survey. It takes about 2 minutes. We also have a document here that we wrote up the answers, so if you want a cheat sheet, we got that too. It basically is stuff like, you know, well, they started to ask, first question, are you a ham? Or do you live in the city of Poway? Second is, you're a ham, are you a ham? And the one that I loved was, if the hams are able to communicate for emergency purposes at 30 feet, well, do you think they should have 65 feet? Yes or no? My favorite one, and I quote to the last city council meeting was, you think that a ham antenna nearby would affect your property values, up, down, or no difference? They're still trying to push that emotional thing. Oh, they're just going to look at like what they look like, so they must be depressing their property values.
We should get rid of all telephone poles.
Right.
And all telephone wires.
Portable basketball hoops, cars, parked out driveway.
Yeah.
Solar panels are ugly.
Yeah, they don't have one, but the answer to that would be, of course, we can't do anything about that, but we can do something about you. So we would encourage everybody to, again, support us on May 6th, the next workshop. The problem with this workshop is that the staff, being fairly lazy, has taken to the easy way out, and they're not making any decisions. They're making up a grid of options for the council. So they're going to have a grid that says height, 35 feet, 50 feet, 65 feet. Pick one. Number of antennas, 1, 5, unlimited. And they expect the council to pick one. Then the council's going to have to write a law. We're going to have another meeting. They'll read that, first reading, and then another meeting to vote on it. So please fill out the survey. Please try and come to the May 6th meeting. We know everybody doesn't want to talk. We just encourage everybody to take a speaker slip, and we'll probably have an opinion on what the question is. They always ask it in some obscure way, so you don't know which way to answer, whether you're supporting it or not. But that's we'll figure that out by the time the meeting comes around. We'd like you to come at 6:30. We're going to have distinctive badges as we had last time. We'll all sit together. Everybody's going to be respectful and not boo anybody. We're going to try and convince the council that they don't need to hear everybody again, because there's really nothing left to say. We said it all. But if our opposition gets up and has 30 speakers saying property values are lower, this is bad, we don't need them, they're ugly, it's against the law, then I guess we'll have to have 60 people stand up and refute that. If that's what they want to do and sit there for 3 hours, we'll do it. So that's the position we're at right now. The good news is, like I said, we think we have a council, at least 3 out of, how many are there, 6, 5? 3 out of 5 on our side. The mayor's against us. One council kind of waffles. One guy asks a lot of questions, but he's on our side, we think, and the other one's definitely on our side. So 2 others are definitely on our side. It's just a matter of how much the opposition can get them, push them to say more restrictions, and also the process is something we're working on, trying to make it easy so it's not outrageously expensive. Howard was trying to go through, he was having to get a variance for anything over 35 feet in the current procedure, and they wanted to have a current appraisal, what else was it, title report, an environmental report, all this kind of stuff. It costs
About $20,000.
$20,000 worth of documents to do the variance, to go before the council, to be rejected. So, anyway.
It's easier to build a condo.
Yeah.
Even the city votes decide what's in that.
No, the Poway is. So, again, May 6th, 6:30, fill out the survey. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Value to the houses with those antennas. That might be an idea too. How about
Should I pass these around? Anybody want to see them? Or?
By the way, Mike, when it comes to, Mike,
Where the whole top is one solid piece.
Okay, field day's coming up. Greg right here says that he's got a field day planning net that should be starting next week. Now, looking at the schedule from before, it was 2,000 hours. He's thinking maybe 2,100 hours. So sometimes Wednesday after dinner, hopefully there's going to be a net started to initiate the field day planning. He does report that he does have 4 individuals who have committed to be captains. Right now they're looking at a 4 alpha setup currently. They're thinking of combining GOTA and 10 meters in together with one of the stations. So I'm not sure exactly what he's thinking. He's not here to explain better, so I give you poor explanation.
So that GOTA has a dedicated band without interference to other stations or from other stations.
We tried that last year.
We didn't do that due to the other one.
GOTA typically tries to find a place in between everybody.
6 meters, GOTA, 6 meters west.
Yeah.
That was there.
Okay.
One thing I did forget was that You don't have to be a ham to take the survey. In fact, they asked that question, and I'm sure they'll have a split that says the hams all voted for this, therefore, they are all for it. Get your wife to do it if she's not a ham, your kids to do it, everybody in the household should do the survey.
Do you want us to temporarily move the Poway?
And anyone you supervise at work, they're evaluation.
Are you talking about promotional enhancements?
Charlie said it'd be nice if we could crash their server, but I don't think we have that many people.
As long as they're paying. You want to get it in at the last minute, don't you? Okay, over in Escondido Amateur Radio Society has an auction that's next Thursday. Art over here is, I believe, is going to be hosting that one. There'll be a chance for you to help relocate some of those prized possessions that have lingered on the shelf too long, or a chance maybe to pick up some more.
I don't have it.
6 months later, if you missed that one, you have a chance to come here, rearrange things, or bring new ones and pick up old ones. So, there's a 6 month in between.
Just right window to play with it, realize it's just not suited for you to bring it back.
Are you trying to say that it needs help and you only got so far? Okay, other things that are coming up, because I can't see where the name is, operating day is over at Fly's coming up on the 26th. We're going to have some people out there show off amateur radio to the public, try and answer their questions, try and encourage them to get on the radio. We've got a couple of commitments already. Ron's coming in late. He's going to see if he's going to bring one of his older radios out operating day.
Only if you have it in the studio, which is where I'm gonna be.
Long distance communications, very good.
Remote.
Yes. So we're going to have that out there. We're going to have some fun showing the public what's going on with amateur radio and how it supports the community. And another thing that just came in is from Joe Coronas. For those people who remember him a couple of years ago, he came up and gave a presentation on tea hunting. We're going to have a tea hunt on May 17th. It's going to be at Penasquitas PARC area. So people down in the Poway area do not have to go very far to find that missing radio. Go down in the canyons, have some fun. I think it's just west of the I-5 or the 15. I can't read that small, you guys. Anyhow, we're going to try and get this in the scope for you. So we got a long time for that one to come up. 17? I can't count that far away. Nobody told me that one. Okay. So I guess you're going to have to put more. Well, what are you going to do? Team hunt mission trips. All right. Any announcements on the floor? Hearing none. John, what's going on with the goodie table tonight?
I've found homes for some of the items already, but I've still got a couple of UHF walkie-talkies, keyboard programmable variety. They need a battery charger, which should be easily available online if you know the right forms. And there's other items here. Price is marked with a 2-meter Winco radio and some an antenna switch. And I don't know what all that little box is. What is the little box?
This is a single link USB sound card.
Sound card.
So you
Okay.
can use the IRLP.
Okay. Anyway, I'm looking for a project to make a 3-phase motor to turn it into a generator to make 3-phase to run a welder. And I could use about a 10 horsepower 3-phase motor if anybody's got any extra goodies in their back pocket. So let me know if you happen to have any extra 3-phase motors that are surplus to your needs.
Are you gonna turn it with your bicycle, John? How are you gonna turn it?
You start it with some capacitors on a single phase, and then once it gets up and running, then it becomes a 3-phase generator. You need some phase compensating capacitors to get it started going. So anyway, anybody with, and I'm talking about 70 or 80 pounds of motor, maybe 100 pounds of motor. So it's gonna be a big one.
I think Dennis had one a couple years ago.
Okay. Talk to you.
Okay. Is there a reading table back there?
Yeah.
There is.
There's some treasures from, let's see, 2008. 2008, and 2013.
So for those of us with a short memory, that'll work very good. For those of us that haven't got into Alzheimer's, you won't need to remember further back or need material because you still remember that far.
If you've already read them, you can always start from the back and then work your way forward. That's always fun.
That's foreign countries such as Japan.
Yeah, for some.
Of course, a lot of people have to figure that out. So. Tonight, you want to stand and be recognized?
I'm Kurt Salisbury, KK7QT.
And what area are you from?
Pardon?
What area are you from?
This
Welcome to the meeting. Is there anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming. What? No, there's no scope. I haven't heard scope. Scope, there's rumors, unsubstantiated to my knowledge, that the scope, after having some directional issues through the postal servicing computer program that's being used, that was causing a little problem with the mailing, and the mailing was supposed to be dropped in the system today. So you may have it tomorrow, you may have it the next day, hopefully no later than the day after. And that is an issue that we are actively working to get back into our normal schedule. Typically, the mailing, the PDF file, or whichever file goes out Sunday night, a week before the meeting. Monday night, the printer used to pick it up, print copies, be available for pickup on Wednesday. And Wednesday used to be, there was a fold and staple, but we haven't had as much participation of that. The printer that we have right now is off to do 95% of what we need to have done. And that's where we're getting that little bit of thing. He's doing real good with, you saw the last print was fairly good. He's putting the labeling together in the program. So we're not having labels that we're actually sticking on. It's already being automatically fed in the print job. And that's where we're having a little bit of issue. There's some addresses aren't taking according to his main program. So we're working out those bugs to get that done. And get all that done, hopefully we'll get them back up here. We get them dumped in the system on Thursday. That'll come down as part of the labeling. The same way as labeling was before, that will change monthly if necessary. That will change monthly as it goes in with this too. So he's getting the same label information that was being printed on a physical label. It's just, he's just merging it into the print program.
And you can always check your status online on the website, and you can renew on the website through PayPal.
Yes. You can do that. You didn't do that, did you?
That's right, you still got more membership than me. Where's
Did I do
that?
that again?
We're at 20.
Also go 20. Okay. The club's being run this year at your direction for the most part, with the repeater site chair, Dawn, back there, WD6FWE. Repeater tech is Conrad, KG6JI. Scope editor, who has a couple of growing kids, so that's why you don't see her as much, is Michelle, W5MYV. Our director number 2, John, is WA2OOB. Director number 1, Rich. Did I see Rich tonight? Rich, NI6H. Membership chair at the back of the table with his lovely wife is Al back there with Kathy, W6GNI. Treasurer K6KIW, correct call sign. Said she wasn't going to be here tonight due to other commitments that came up. Secretary Jim, NE60 back there, and I appreciate his help, I really do. Vice President Joe, seems to be, is he still in Egypt? Somewhere?
Something like that.
He thinks he has to go somewhere else instead of our meetings. K6JP. myself, KD60, and Jay Dennis. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ron. What you really came here for. Ron Rosson M6XT decided to take a trip. It was interesting in many ways. So I can do that maybe. Turn on that phone. Oh, I'll give you one more thing. Dennis isn't here. Dennis of the South, M6KI. I sent an email a while ago about another radio, cheap, inexpensive, valve phone, UV82. So that, I don't know why people are getting that. The difference is the split on this is 2 meter, 220. Now, using it for a while, I haven't had any bad reports yet, other than I travel in the car handheld, which is typically traveling in a car with a handheld. But, you know, there's two 220 machines up at our repeater site, and they are available for our use. And they do get used. They do get used. I just have to figure out when, because of the way I get timed on everything. But it's available. This was $50 delivered to the door.
How is the
Usual
programming?
assortment. Huh?
How's the programming on it? Still got a programming with a computer?
The smart person does. I won't say that I'm smart, but I did do that. And for those that Chirp does very well on these things, and for the people that don't understand Woos or Baofeng on the program, I'm one of those idiots that went ahead and I downloaded the Baofeng program off the Chinese site or wherever it was, and I had no problems to speak of. It did, when I initialized it, it took 4 passes for it to fully recognize the radio, and since then, I've had no problems changing things around. So, you gotta remember, with all the question marks at the top, the second set from the right side, click on that, and it'll give you Chinese and English, in the English language, click English, and everything comes back to something we recognize.
Hey, Dennis,
That run?
I gotta run back.
Okay, another.
Just so everyone knows, May 10th, the PCT 50, set the first go 50 mile run is going to be happening. So if anyone's interested in participating in that, go and shoot me an email, KG6JI@AMSAT, and I'll pass it down to the guy who's actually organizing it this year. So May 10th, Saturday, fun.
One other thing, Dennis, that power all battery, that I told you could probably jump a car, it did jump a car the other day. I used it successfully on a friend of mine's car. It would have been, I knew the battery was dead because they left the headlights on for 4 days. And it jumped it, first time.
Test it works. Late August, actually August 31st, we left from San Diego, which is way over here. I have another part of the map. Flew to Hawaii, and then on to Samoa, American Samoa, which is right here, Pago Pago, flew in there. And then on to Api. There's 2 big islands in western Samoa. We were headed to Tokelau, sorry I didn't get on there somewhere up in here. Next slide, go on to the PowerPoint.
Blake?
Okay, this was my first time with John, which is the experienced one. He has a minimum of 10 DXpeditions underneath his belt. He's been 4 times to Clifton that I know of. And so he was kind of my guide, what not to do and what to do. And I still learn even more. Next slide. This was my first time in Western Samoa and attempt to visit Tokelau ZK3 with John and 7CQQ. Due to the boat schedule or lack thereof, we did not make it to Tokelau. I'll explain later on. Here's myself at the Hawaiian airport getting ready to fly to American Samoa. And here's John and 7CQQ. And here we are, we arrived at American Samoa. I would not recommend this hotel to anyone. This pool was empty. Air conditioning didn't work, but not the style, I'll give it a 1 star. It held you up, it kept you out of the weather, it doesn't rain a lot. Next slide. This is the life of a cat in American Samoa. We walked in, this cat just lazing around. He's like, what are you doing here? Next. Okay, this is the sanctuary in American Samoa, the marine sanctuary, which is, I forget how many miles it is, but there's quite a bit of ocean front that is taken up by. Next slide. This is some of the things, like the clams and the fish. It looks like barracuda, sharks, and other species. Next slide. Okay, this is, well, I call it the man in charge. This is Alex. He actually helped the Swain group. That's another story. I'll tell you about it maybe at the end. He also is a co-pilot and owns his own airline. And this is kind of a shot outside. Okay, we're in Samoa here at the Marina Hotel. I'll give it a 2 or 3 star. We were able to set up, this wasn't the best place to put a vertical, by the way. You have a wall here, which is about 18 feet. You've got another one there about 19 feet. And then you've got the hotel to the back side. In other words, if I was pointing to it, it'd be the left. Okay, this is the hotel itself. Here's our coax going out. I'm sorry. Going along the top is our coax right here, going out to this vertical, which is a step IR, big IR vertical, 10 through 80 meters. And this, believe it or not, was our Wi-Fi. We were actually piggybacking, and I'll show you the guy who helped us out with that. We were actually piggybacking on his system. Next slide. And this is John, it's the CQQ. What he's doing is taking the radios. Okay, he's taking the radios and putting them out along so we get better SWR and a few other things. It did help. Next slide. This is where I also the regulator. This is where you get your license. And you don't walk in and just get your license. You fill out the form, you come back an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours later. And you hope it's right. It wasn't right, you had to come back again. Long story. Next slide. Here's where I'm operating at 5 Whiskey, my call, operating at 5 Whiskey 1 Sugar Alpha Station. 175. We turned the amp on, his amp, about 500 watts, and we had to turn it off. There was a pile up that bad. Our heterodyne went from, when we turned it down, went from 50 over to about 30 over. And then there's a couple other tricks we did. But next slide. These are some of the antennas we used when we were up there visiting. And this is a 6-meter beam, which we did not use. We didn't work 6. We worked 10 through 20 on this one here, which is, I believe it's a TA33. No, yeah, it is a TA33. You can tell a TA33 by this bridge right here, underneath one of the driven elements. It actually driven element. Next slide. Next slide. This is a 6-meter vertical, which we didn't use. Next slide. This is a 40-meter vertical, which we did use. Next slide. Wire antennas hung in the trees. You're not going to believe this. Bamboo poles. I've never seen bamboo 4 foot thick until I got to Samoa. Not 4 foot, 4 inches, I'm sorry, 4 inches, correction. 12, 17, and 80 meters. The bamboo poles, they were hung in the bamboo poles. It worked, believe it or not, it did work. I worked a lot of people on 80 in San Diego and around San Diego area. Next slide. This is from his house looking down at the beach. Actually, that's about 5 miles away. It's closer, but it's not. And this is 5 Whiskey. If anybody works CW, you worked him. If you work Samoa, 5 Whiskey 1 Sugar Alpha. He's about the only one active, unless it's a DXpedition from Samoa, as far as working on CW and video. Next slide. This is what we had prepared our luggage for ZK3. Okay, you have to have your own water. You don't drink their water, trust me. And this is one of our steppers. There's two of them. Here's our bags and various other, this is, like I say, water. And we didn't worry about food. We figured we'd get that when we got there. We had to catch it. Next slide. Here we are at the forwarding place, getting it all ready to go. Next slide. Okay, this, we were kind of turning around, waiting. Aggie Gray. Is there any old Navy man here? You know about Aggie Gray? Okay, I don't have to say anymore. Next slide. Okay, this tree right here is amazing. I looked at it first, I said, something's wrong. The roots are actually growing up. Next slide. All right, this is, they have their, and when we were there, they were preparing for a longboat annual race. And it's a big party, other than these guys that have to do the rowing. But there's a bunch of them. It's like, some lot, what our, like our Palomar Fair would be, except it's for the racing.
How many people are in that bus?
Quite a few. You count.
25 or 20.
Keep going. About 40, I think. Okay, it is very long. Okay, here's one of the nicer catamarans in the harbor. I just happened to grab a shot of it. Next slide. This is the Samoa's fast food. You have chicken. I don't know what this is. And then you've got, next slide. This is chicken curry. Okay, one thing you have to realize when you're in a foreign country, be careful when you eat. The bones are still in this. There's bones in there. They're ground up, but about the size of your top part of your thumb. Next slide. Another picture of Marina Hotel. Next slide. Okay, these are ladies that took care of us. Not that way. To make sure we were fed and we're woken up on time.
Is that why you're smiling?
Hey, you guys, really? Yeah. Audition before you guys.
It's about 30 years there completely.
Anyway, this was a waitress, this was a lady that was a receptionist in the hotel. This is the restaurant behind us, the little restaurant. Next slide. This is our gear, first class, going back to American Samoa. Next slide. We're leaving 5 Whiskey, which, as I said, is Samoa. Next slide. This is the Polynesian Waigawi Airport. Really modern, as you can tell. It's really not that modern other than the computers. Next slide. Flew in, I'm not sure if the turboprop, and I'm not sure what the name is. As you notice, 5 Whiskey. Next slide. We're flying to American Samoa. Next slide. This is returning. We're just getting, we're about probably 5 miles out. Next slide. This is the American Samoa Airport. A little bit nicer. One thing they don't have is air conditioning. You'll see a fan in a minute, you're not going to believe it. Okay, that's the Ford dealer there. Next slide. Actually, the customs was right next to that. This is a hotel we decided to stay in when we got back. Real nice hotel. I'd give it 4 stars. Pool and lots. It was very nice. Next slide. Okay, the big R is ready to go. We got all the radials out. We had to dig our own hole. Of course, we planned. We did all the work anyway. Next slide. This is another picture of it. Next slide. This is where we went. AH8LG. By the way, it was SK in May. His wife was nice enough to let us operate from there part-time. We ran a TH11, nothing on 40. Next slide. Well, we were mostly operating 10 through 20, including the work guns. Next slide. This is me operating. Actually, this is the first day I got this. This is in reverse. First day I got here, I had to handwrite because I forgot to bring my laptop. Next slide. This is the fan I was telling you about. There's several of these in there to try to keep you cooled off, and plus you get the breeze like you do in Hawaii. What do they call them, the winds, something winds. What's that? Trade winds. This is leaving the Gallup Airport for Oahu for the trip home. Summed it all up, I learned a lot, because this was my first DXpedition. It was quite an experience to be on the other side of the pilots with 40 to 50 heterodyne, but you try to control that. Japan is fairly nice. Every once in a while you get a guy that's not very nice. But Italy, I won't say anything bad about Italians. This isn't here, but they're not very courteous. When you're saying NA only, North America only, and Europe's calling, it was mostly IKs, IZs, which are the newer Italians I found out from an Italian at Visalia last year.
Honestly, doesn't NA use North America? You're right.
And you have to, from reading further after I got back, you learn their language. You learn to listen for certain letters they don't pronounce like you and I. I mean, it's different. I hope to be able to be a part of future DXpeditions with a group or just a pair up with another operator. Lessons learned, get a little more planning on the logistics in. If you have not been on one yet, put it on your bucket list of things you want to do. One thing I did learn, you can do all the planning you want. It's trying to get a hold of the people in Samoa to get there, to ZK3. That was the hardest. We had an inside guy, the 5 Whiskey, trying to contact him and say, well, what's going on? The reason we didn't make it to Tokelau is because the chiefs were meeting on an island, and we had to be, this was like, first they said, oh, we're going to let you go on September 5th, and it was September 8th. And on September 8th, we questioned, we said, well, what's going on? Well, all the chiefs meet on one island, and they go around each island and pick them up. We were supposed to be back in Samoa, at least by the 29th. We wouldn't have got back till the 30th, and maybe later. The chiefs don't care about us. Okay? Okay. Oh, you also have to change money when you go to Samoa to, Palomar. And also, before you head on to Tokelau, you change money again to New Zealand dollars, because that's controlled by New Zealand. Tokelau. Okay, go to the status. Okay, here, I don't know if you guys can see them unless you're up close. When you see the 100%, this means they sent me a card, I sent them one back. The total was 602 from 5 Whiskey. 1,602. And 55, and then we just got on one time on 75, and it's really strange. Your conditions aren't like they are at all. It's almost the opposite. We started operating at night, between 3 and 4 in the afternoon, their time. So mostly that was Europe, Japan, of course New Zealand was pounding you in, because they're right just south of us. Most of our queues were on 20 meters. I don't have John's list. He's about the same as I am, or a little over 2,500 total. And again, that's 845 was 15. The conditions were actually great. It's just that your hours are so messed up. You're going in there and operating this place, and you're coming back and operating, and you're going back out to his place. You know, next time we're going to do a little differently. We're going to get a place right on the water. There's a couple places we looked at while we were there. Excuse me. Okay, next slide on KHA. This is where I made some of the ready contacts. Let's see. No, phone in ready. Form ready in PSK actually. Let's see. I think it's not showing. Anyway, About 382 was mostly Riddy on 17. And off and on, I'm surprised it's not showing, but total queues there were 869, but we didn't operate that much. We'd operate a couple hours a day and then enjoy the scenery. If we're probably, go ahead. If we're gonna do it again, a little more planning on our part. And it takes a minimum, right here. You can take the ferry, but we decided to fly. We chartered a plane and that flew all our gear also to here, 40 from here to here. It's not that far. Ferry will take you one day, but the ferry only runs on Thursday and Sunday. Enough said. What I learned from it, be prepared for just about anything. Because you're going to a hotel, you're going to where they sometimes don't, they speak your language. But you need to prepare yourself for the weather. My advice is, go to Louisiana about 2 weeks. I was stationed there way back when I was a young man, and that would prepare me for it. And I got back here and everybody's saying it's hot. My body had adjusted to Samoa. It was 84 degrees and dry here. And I was loving it. That's nice. But again, I'd acclimated to that weather. So, as far as the presentation anymore, is there any questions?
You're running one transmitter at a time?
Yes, because we didn't take filters with us. We should have took some ice filters with us.
What do you think of the step on our?
Pardon me?
What do you think of the,
It works real well. I was surprised when we got back to KH8, that's where we really used it. I used it. For Riddy, I was using 50 watts and had a pilot from all over, Europe, New Zealand, everywhere.
how many radios do you use for that?
Minimum of 32, but they were real fine. We were only running 100 watts. I was only running 50 watts, had to turn the power down because on Riddy, it's the first time I ever had to operate split on Riddy. 3 to 8. I had to go up and down because Europe, guy emailed, this is strange, and the friend of mine was checking my emails, John was, he says, look at this, he's saying, spread it out, because I was holding one frequency. He said, if you don't spread it out, we can't hear you, because it's heterodyne even Europe. So you get some good advice from people too. And I learned a lot of things, like don't switch the countries you're working at all, just to pick up a guy to shut him up. So, you learn a lot. If I do it again, yes, I would. If I'm invited, I would probably either go with a small group, 2 of us, or a big group. Thank you.
About how much money did it cost for the extra hotel and transportation and all of that?
Give you an approximate, okay? We shared the hotel room, both places. Okay, the total, a little over 3,500. That's airfare too. A total of 30 days. But I mean, this was inexpensive, but the only reason it was, I didn't throw in the cost of mailing our stuff to them. Okay, it cost him $150. I got cheap and drug the stuff. That's a bad thing to do. Drag it through the airport. I had 4 things of luggage. Because you have to drag that through customs. I don't know if you guys, some of you have probably already been through customs. But I'll tell you, I won't do it again. I'll ship it there, or I'll go with a bigger group, because it's travel light's what I'm going to say. If I'm going to do it again, I will probably get the folding XP, because you can set it up portable. It's light, and you just have all the stuff in. The Pelican case you saw there, that was packed. But I was limited on weight to 50 pounds. The Pelican case almost weighs 34 pounds by itself. Yes. What's that? Well,
If it didn't, we have a problem with how many trees is equipment.
put it this way, the Pelican case, you could drop kick that from 10 feet, you couldn't hear anything. Literally, I mean, it's the way they're made. As far as the other stuff that was shipped, that's another thing. Shipped USPS, they guarantee a time to get there, right? It'll arrive 3 days late. And that was an American Small.
What radios were you using and what software for the radio and,
Okay, we used N1MM DX. Excellent program. We used it for RID. I used it for RID. John did all phone. He did a little 60, did very little 60 CW. Because his buddy wanted, back at the States, wanted to work him, so we tried. But, and we used IC 7000, ICOM 7000. We used the N1MM, we used the laptop, we used the interface. Believe it or not, if you couldn't copy it, the screen's about that small, it'll actually read RIDI on the IC 7000. But I got it to work. Thanks to support of my technical inclined son, which came in via internet, and he helped me, boosted me a little bit on getting it going. I was having a little problem. He just tweaked it. He checked one mark I didn't check or something. I was tired. I just wanted to get off. What I would suggest, if you decide to go, talk to somebody that's been, or email them back and forth. We talked to the Swain Group. I'll just give you a little highlight of that. It was 110 degrees in the shade. There. You wonder why they didn't operate 24/7. They tried their best, trust me. That's why they left 2 days early. If you back into the bush, we call it the bush, but into the trees, there was shade there. Guess what was with that shade? Because it's uninhabited, more or less. Mosquitoes. They're bad enough in Samoa, trust me. They were, even if you put DEET 25% on, forget about it. They go right through that. You have to put it on 3 times in 4 hours. They did it over there. One person got sick. I could not believe one individual, I won't name his call. He was actually wearing, he had some stomach problems, was wearing a bag. He went on the Swain expedition. I patted that guy on the back. I said, and then there was an 80-year-old man that went on the same one. And we worked them like, I'm talking to you guys, because we're only 200 miles, 300 miles away. But it was interesting because we saw them off. When they came back, we had dinner with them. But it was really interesting to talk to them and how they operated and what to do and what not to do. Any more questions? Well, thank you all for listening to me. I'm sorry I covered a little bit.
Not knowing that Ron was going to have a presentation in this time length, that's all we scheduled tonight. So we have a chance to go home early, come back next time, have some fun, or stay around and do a little bit of talking, or come over and see what John has to say.
I'm looking to get a package to Dennis. So anybody that's trying to personally see Dennis in the next 2 weeks or so, I appreciate it.
Anyone want to see Dennis in the next few days? At 6KI?
He went to
Friday
Brazil.
feast?
He went to Brazil.
Harry will see him.
Nobody any better than you guys, so.
Harry will see him in
So anyhow, just a reminder, April 26th, a Saturday. Hi, Joe, how you doing?
I said Harry will see him in Visalia.
Jerry and I
You
are
want
going
to
to
send everybody to
Visalia
come
tomorrow
there?
morning.
Mike can take it over here, he says.
Okay.
Mike will offer to take in for Dennis. So again, April 26th is a Saturday this time. We've been doing the operating days on Sundays. I won't tell you that it's only for some individual which doesn't have other days off. But, we'll do it on Saturday this time at somebody's request. And we're going to have a good time out there at Fry's. So,
is there a point person that you want to set up there?
I'll take information, but Tom, RCW, typically has been lead out there. That's it. Have some fun. Come back next month. Hopefully we'll have fun on the radio. We'll have a nice presentation and getting set up for you. As soon as I find out what it is, we'll start letting you know.
If anybody wants the URL for the survey, I have it over here.